the future of location analytics, if we put on sort of, or we get out the crystal ball, it's always sort of difficult to speculate. But we talked about underwriting and claims and fraud, but are there potentially other applications that could come with location analytics, location intelligence that will impact the property and casualty insurance industry? What are maybe some areas that are just beginning or emerging today?
Well, you started off and we didn't really address the marketing side, which is significant. Think of it in terms of how it can be applied for, especially a national company as to how they want to develop their products and how they want to market the products. So I can see that cost effective for sure.
And of course that brings in distribution, the brokers wanting to find out what areas do brokers represent,
and reducing their commissions. Yeah, I see. I got it. Yeah. I disclosed it all. I'm sure I did.
Yeah, I think it's about figuring out how to inform and impact the specific individual's interaction and engagement with the organization, and how do you kind of do that in a way that's as effective. So to get back to it, that's like local-based pricing or high-value customer targeting, or doing segment of one. It's just how do we become more effective at that specific individual engagement, and that's going to draw. That's in the future. That's going to be where the money's at, because layering on the static location piece with mobile location. So vehicles are moving, goods are moving, services are moving, devices are moving. In the future, how do you get that mobile location analytics built into or integrated with what's emerging today, in order to say, okay, specifically for Craig, this is what we should do and we should offer, and this is how we'll be profitable in the long term.
Whether you believe it's going in this direction or not, I mean, I'm hearing people talk about the movement towards highly personalized products, so very very micro rather than kind of bulk segmentation or large segment product development. And so I think this is where all sorts of data's got to come in order to price the risk appropriately.
I was recently watching a webinar about high value. One of the companies in the States was looking at focusing their efforts on high value. And the numbers, it was something like the 1% who have everything make up like 22% of the total personal lines premium in the States. I mean, if you don't know that, you wouldn't know where to go. So I mean, the information and and then of course they then will be able to track where these properties are, what kind of cars they have. It is George Orwell kind of thing, but still, that information is invaluable. If you're going to start a major project, you need to know where to go and how to get that information, develop it.
Do you think insurers can do that micro segmentation? Can they get to that level of one-on-one customer type product development?
The common language here is latitude, longitude. It's GPS location, right? And if you can translate whatever set of data you have into latitude, longitude, then you can have anything talk to each other and you can relate anything. And then I think that opens the door to, just about anything. That's
the thing to me when I was looking at this, because this is all fairly new technology for me, is for a company to decide what model they want, like what information do they want, and then to build. I mean, there are obviously third-party providers that provide what they think is important, but for an insurance company to sit and say, well, this is essential, but we would like to have, obviously, the fraud side being part of that. Or like if you're doing business with London, you need to get all this collection, the FinTech, and you have to do the sanction stuff. There's lots of information that if you could get it accumulated at one place, could eliminate a lot of time and effort and avoid major problems down the line. So building the model and saying, okay, I can get all this stuff, but as Jonathan says, like that's all geographic, but I would like to build this in, and then like it's going to be probably a bespoke is what the word they use, your own system that's going to design for what you want to do. But we talked about management size and saying, okay, this is, and then going for it. But that probably will change in a year anyway. But still, you have to know what you want before you can collect it. So I think that's a big part of it. And I was going to mention here, we didn't talk, and I didn't know whether this was part of it, but there's a lot of talk about drones, the application of drones in, location, but any information. Is that something that links into this somehow? A use of drones in the claims, or?
I have no comment about drones.
Wait, there's one right there. Oh no. I don't know if that's part of that. Does that link into this stuff too? Come on. Yeah.
Part of that mobile location analytics, dynamic location analytics, just marrying the static and the dynamic, and drones are essentially sensors and devices, right? It goes back to everything else that's emerging on the Internet of Things front, right? So how do you integrate that and look at multiple data sources that are useful, valuable in one way? And then how does all of that integrate into a broader data analytics approach in order to create that insights-driven organization? So it's a piece of it, it's emerging, and then how does it all fit and integrate? And that's the big challenge for the next 2 years.
I would add to drone satellite imagery, especially in U.S. and some other countries that have a bit better coverage than we do. And certainly for remote looking at a claim, it's huge. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Yeah, no, it's,
And marry that with your location information.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, because it wasn't brought up, but I could see that it'd be a fairly useful
But
tool in bringing
You
live,
could send your drone
real-time
out,
stuff.
just program in your location and send your drone out.
Just don't send it by his
Yeah,
house.
exactly. It gets shut down.
Are there any other thoughts about location intelligence? We've pretty much gone through the questions. If there's any other comments or insights about location intelligence, this would be the time to share your nuggets of wisdom, or anything about the future or potential emerging developments on location intelligence front.
I'll speak from the historical point of view as I trace back from the telex to the fax and so on. And all that technology that it's just in technology now, but it was at the time. And when we were talking, Jonathan and I earlier, but it's that from my perspective, being focused on the physical aspect of risk is to make sure that this is a tool, doesn't drive the decision making. Well, it's a tool to the decision, not and when we see that so much of this stuff can be, and again, that's the whole part of the integration with this. It's so much easier if people are trained to use this stuff as a tool, but they need to have all that other experience. They need to see the risk. They need to be with brokers. They need to be in the environment and use this as a tool, not have a screen like you see in one of those new futuristic, everybody's a big room, underwriting from a screen.
No, it's a
So,
decision support tool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing I would see from my perspective is growing into that technology. And I've seen it being used very effectively, but this sounds like a vast amount of stuff that could be misused if it wasn't properly put together. That's all.
I agree. And to add to that, I think this is a general comment. This is just early stages of location intelligence. I wonder how this conversation would be in 5 years' time, because we talked about underwriting, claims, and fraud, and I wonder where are we in a few years. This is just early stages, and with the ever increasing computational power and with ever increasing advance of tools and systems, this will where will it end?
Is there likely to be an insurance industry committee? No. A consortium of the Intacs, the Avivas, the RSAs, the ECHOs that would enter into this discussion? Well, you have that on your side. But in terms of the modeling and what they want, is that, Mary, you were talking about, is that getting people committed? But I don't know, the market's always so diverse and competitive, but that's how I think you could bring this together. If people came together, economy of scale.
It's tricky getting the consortium going in a place where they're trying to compete. So one of the things with Kinetics, why it's been successful, is that we can say that we're collaborating with inside the consortium to get the best possible suspicious lead, and then how insurers deal with that lead and how they investigate, how they adjudicate, when they deny. That's how they compete. And so it's very clean boundary. I think it becomes a little more problematic when you're trying to, and it may even run afoul of the Competition Act, trying to sit down and figure out how to use location-based information to price. Like, I don't know that would go very far.
Do I get the $20 for the lead in for you?
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Let's slip it over here.
Yeah, not on the camera.
Oh, no, the drone will get us anyways.
So we made a tool for individual companies to use to drive business insight. Very interesting. Well, that wraps up the discussion. I wanted to thank everyone for participating in the roundtable today. It was an excellent discussion. I think we covered all the topics, and I think we learned quite a bit. So thank you very much.